I apologize, folks, I wasn't quite prepared. One more item. The reason I have this beer is because my wife, who's Chinese, we have a garden out back, and she plans to position trays with a shallow amount of beer among the vegetables, so the insects will be attracted to this, for them I suppose, sweet smelling beer, and fall into it and drown. And so that will perhaps reduce significantly the number of bugs among the plants. We'll see. I think that approach has some possibility anyway. Okay, next story from my collection, The Tales of the Bizarre and Unnatural. Tales of the Bizarre and Unnatural. This one is titled The Probe and is set in Utah in about circa 1950. The story is the narrator's recollection of a certain occurrence. Probe. In the interest of truth and what is only right, after years of reflection over this matter, I have decided to divulge some information which the government of the United States has retained in the form of classified documents for nearly half a century. By doing this, I surely run the risk of prosecution, and the charge to which I will inevitably be accused is just as serious as that of high treason. And this is so due to the nature of the information itself, which, I assure you, does not concern any government, foreign or domestic, but incredibly enough involves an alien culture about which all of the government scientists, including myself, knew virtually nothing initially. A probe from outer space landed upon the Great Salt Flats in Utah in July of 1961. The radar monitors stationed at Hill Air Force Base in Ogden, Utah, had tracked its descent once it entered the stratosphere and then followed its undeviating downward trajectory. Since no aircraft was known to be in this region at that particular time, the object was immediately judged to have been a malfunctioning weather balloon, and the team of 3 meteorologists were sent to look at it. I was on that team, and my name is John Charles Marlowe. When my 2 colleagues and I returned from that remarkable expedition, we immediately requested permission to speak with the base commander, Brigadier General Reisner. Our immediate superior officer, Colonel Fallon, thought this particularly odd and instantly challenged us with the purpose of our wish to see the commander. We knew Fallon to be a devout Baptist, originally from Tennessee and not the least scientifically minded, and we all looked at one another for a brief moment before we launched into a cover story, which we discussed at length during the drive back to our barracks in Ogden. It was apparently the remains of a Soviet weather balloon, we told him, yet attached to it was some rather unusual instrumentation. This caused the colonel to gawk at us fleetingly with an astonished look bordering on apprehension that quickly vanished once he collected himself. "All right, gentlemen," he informed us, "I'll put in your request. For the time being, you're dismissed." We returned to our quarters and there waited to be summoned by Commander Reisner. It didn't take long. His personal assistant, a low-ranking commissioned officer whose principal duties appeared to be clerical, conveyed us into his office with alacrity. The old man sat behind his desk, a pipe smoldering in an ashtray reputed to have been fashioned out of the blunt nose of a Mark 44 air-to-sea torpedo. "So," he began, "I understand you gentlemen were sent out to have a look at some old weather balloon that struck Utah soil." He paused for a moment and then said with a chuckle, "What did the crater look like?" I'd been chosen by Fiat to serve as the spokesman for our little scientific band. My pair of colleagues had been rather too anxious to even discuss the matter with the commander. "There was no crater, sir," I advised him. "Simply a joke, Lieutenant Marlowe, simply a joke. Where's your sense of humor, man?" "The boys in the radar room had come to a false conclusion about the weather balloon, sir," I went on. "What we saw can only be described as a small spacecraft." "What?" "Yes, sir. A spacecraft, sir. A small probe." "The hell you say? Now look here, Lieutenant, I don't much care for this damn joke of yours. I'm a busy man with an entire base to keep operational, so just what exactly did you men find out there?" I met the commander's scowling gaze and said evenly, "We took a series of photographs, sir, just as we would have all along, had the thing been merely a meteor. The tech in the photo lab said the pictures would be ready at 1700 hours this afternoon." Having called what he thought was some absurd bluff, Commander Reisner now paused with an odd, perplexed look, which suggested a good deal of inner discomfort. "All right. I'll order that these photographs be sent directly to my office." "I know it sounds crazy, sir, but I'm telling—" "Never mind! You're to speak to no one about this. This is an order. The entire incident's now under effective quarantine." The commander snatched up his pipe and drew on it repeatedly, then took it from his mouth and pointed the stem at us. "You three men now have knowledge of information which has just been classified by me. Dismissed!" Over the years, I have thought many times about our brief meeting with Commander Reisner. He did what any man would have done in his position, which was to clamp a lid on the entire matter. From that time forward, I did not have any further contact with the alien space probe. How do I know it was a probe, rather than a vessel? Even within the most classified situations, those involved will tend to talk. And since anyone involved would have also known that I had been one of the first to actually see it, bits and pieces of news were passed on discreetly to me, in the way of occasional asides. 8 years later, in 1969, the United States lunar module, the Eagle, landed on the moon. 7 years after that, in 1976, Viking 1 lander descended to the surface of Mars. The space vehicle I had seen with my own eyes was smaller than either of these, roughly the size of a subcompact car. I can easily visualize the scene where it had landed. A flat, light gray expanse and nothing else for miles around. That this craft did not have a parachute attached to it had struck me as particularly intriguing. Apparently, its designers had invented a very effective propulsion system powerful enough to completely mitigate the effects of Earth's gravity. During the last few hundred feet of its descent, the seamless hull of this craft was shaped along the order of two parallel cigars attached to one another with 3 sets of fins. I do not mind telling you now that when I first saw it at a distance, as we were nearing the landing site in a jeep, a strange kind of dread came over me, as I had already begun to sense that the object which we were approaching was not man-made. General Reisner initiated a highly classified study of the spacecraft, which was quickly removed and shipped by a nondescript freight truck to a remote section of Nevada, there to be thoroughly scrutinized. Yet I seriously doubt that those who examined the ship would have found anything the least bit comprehensible to them. That's only speculation on my part, of course. But as the three of us stood in front of that probe, glancing warily at one another when we weren't gaping at this marvel, we soon witnessed something I can never forget. A lizard about the length of my hand happened to scurry within inches of the hull in search of food or shade. Then suddenly, that portion of the hull nearest the lizard simply dissolved into a round aperture, and the little reptile disappeared through this hole in a flash, after which the hull reformed itself, rendering once more its previous seamless surface. After we saw that, we backed away slowly, scrambled into the Jeep, and got the hell out of there. To say that we were spooked would have been an understatement. All three of us had been terrified. So now you can see why I've decided to make this information public. We know that within our solar system, intelligent life is confined to the Earth. Yet somewhere out there in the vast reaches of space, a life form exists which created and sent that probe to our planet. You might disregard altogether what I just told you as the diseased imaginings of a lunatic. But then again, you might just think otherwise. You might now possibly realize that human beings have company in this universe. Although, as far as I know, these beings have yet to answer the question on the matter of their intentions. Just what do they want to find out about Earth and the billions of creatures who occupy its surface? That, and most importantly, how do they intend to go about their research? Well, I'll save the next story for another occasion. It's not short.